right, so this is a different kind of wing assembly. You see, it's a piece of paper with the outlines of where the little spars go and the ribs go. And you see they're all separate, which to me spells maybe some problems later because the wing's not going to be, in my opinion, strong or straight. It's going to have bends in it. However, we'll go ahead and give it a try. The middle part is open, so you have to make sure you put the little wood, faux wood paper coloring on the insides so that when you look up in there, you'll see it looks like wood, which is done really well, I have to say. It's great. There's some shorter pieces, like that one's cut. And that's right where the aileron goes, because I'm making separate ailerons so I can use them and put them in position. And there's all the extra pieces that are going to be the skins. So here I'm just showing a little bit of how you put it together. It's very self-explanatory, and worked fine. Like I said, I'm dubious of this construction method. I'd rather have a complete spar, at least one. And I also like more ribs, although in this case, maybe because of the dark color, it turned out pretty well. It doesn't look funny. It doesn't look like there's lots of bulges. But here I am just showing you I'm putting in one of the ribs. So I got glue on the bottom, and I put glue up against the spar where the rib goes. And these are such that the tip of the rib, the front, sticks out over that paper, which is fine. The paper is really there to guide how you put the spars and the ribs on, which is fine. That's a neat innovation. I think that's cool. I've never seen a paper model that did that. And you're going to fold the skins over that, so that doesn't bother me at all. So far things are going great. So then I'm showing you putting on another spar, just a little glue, and then you make sure you put a little bit of glue on the end where it's going to butt up against the previous rib, right there. And then plop that in over the line. It's nice because you're following those lines. Everything's nice and straight and perpendicular and everything. You just take your time and put it in, and the glue dries quick, and you're starting to build a wing. So the rest of this is going to be sped up considerably because it's just more of the same. I wanted you to see it, but it's just boring to watch it because it's just more of the same. Putting glue in, adding the ribs, adding the spars in turn. And again, in theory, I guess if this is all glued together, it should be like one. But in practice, there's places where things will bend. Making sure that tip rib is pretty straight. And there is basically half of it done. And so I just got to do the other part. So there I did the other part off camera, and now I'm going to start skinning from the middle. And the important part is going to be to make sure that you get those holes there so that he can see and do his turn. Make sure those are correctly placed. And then there's little tabs on the end that fold up that give you a little bit of purchase on the trailing edge, which should give you a little more meat, and it will make the trailing edge not look like just a squished piece of paper. So just like everything else on this model, when I matched up those window holes, they absolutely fit like a charm. They're perfect. And that's just being careful cutting, but unbelievable. Really good. So I put some glue on there, and I put my tabs up, and I'm really just lining up the opening, the window down there. It's really what I'm making sure looks right. Making sure that's straight, and then pushing down and getting the glue to adhere. It's kind of ingenious because now you've got something that's nice and straight, and you've got sort of a backing in there, and you just make sure it's all in there nice. And I'm checking now to make sure again that the window all lines up to the edges, and it does. Looks great. I mean, the next key part is to fold the top piece over, and that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where you start to panic if things aren't going to work. So what I do typically with these, sometimes I crease them. This one I didn't. I just wanted to see if I could just fold it over. But I take a straight edge of some kind and I slowly roll it back and forth. You can kind of feel the paper, and you're just kind of trying to suggest to the paper that I want you to go this way. So don't fold it all at once because you'll crease it really badly and get ripples and things. You don't want that. You want it to be nice and smooth. So I'm folding this over, and I'm fully expecting that window not to match, and I'll be buggered. It matches really well. This tiny bit there, but I mean, that's great. And there's no, the leading edge doesn't look stupid. There's no pointy parts of the ribs sticking out, and you can't see it as well as I can, but the edges, the ribs, it comes like halfway through the rib perfectly, the skin, and so that'll give you purchase for the other parts, for the wingtips. I mean, it's wonderful. So I put some glue on here. I didn't put some glue along the top spars, just on the ribs, because I wanted to see if that would. One thing I don't like about models like this is that if you put too much glue on or whatever, you get ribs, you get lines all the way through underneath the paper. You can see, and I didn't want that. But anyway, I test fitted it. I folded over, and making sure it matches up as much as possible, and I promptly put glue on the surface. That was a genius idea. Anyway, but you can see that window is matching, and very well, making sure that it's tight and down there. Everything looks good, except for where I put the glue smudge. But notice, the eagle eyes people out there will notice that the trailing edge looks a little funny. There's a big overlap on that trailing edge. Kind of surprised me, but I was still not panicking quite yet. Went under here and got the little ridge underneath for the curved section, just putting a little glue under there, and then you squeeze it with your thumbs, and that turned out, thumb and forefinger, and that turned out nice. It didn't get pinched. It came together nicely. It looks very smooth. It looked like a really nicely ordered trailing edge cutout. It looks great. And again, everything is straight. I'm very pleased with it at this point, but I got those overlaps, and I don't know what to do with them. So I decided to cut them off. There's nothing else to do with them. And at this point, I'm starting to wonder why I have to do this, because the whole model has put on together so well. But it looks good, and I'm thinking maybe. Well, I'm upset there because of my stupid glue I put on the surface. Anyway, so now here's the outer wing panel. I'm just showing where it's going to go, the wing skin. That is a piece that's supposed to be added, I think, underneath that wingtip, so that when you put the actual wingtip piece on, you can see that it's the top piece is open, because it goes downward, so it has to be a separate piece like that. I ended up not using those ultimately. I just shaped that wingtip and glued it in, butted it up, and it worked fine. I didn't need those little tabs. But here's the outer wing skin, and showing you again, it's got a little tab on the back, lining it up with a straight edge, and doing a few marks with the back end of the knife so that I can fold that. But again, I did not fold any kind of thing on the leading edge of the wing, which again I've done before, but I didn't on these. I also didn't pre-form like the upper surface with a little roll in it. I don't think that was a problem. But anyway, I kind of matched this up and look, and again, it looks good. It looks like it's going to match up really well. And then I turn it over to make sure. I wonder, oh wait, maybe the bottom. I got to make sure the bottom is clean and looks good. And lo and behold, it looks perfect. I mean, you slide in there, you can see the spars, the printed spars line up. Everything's going great. So I mark where this goes so that I can put some glue on it, just like I did on the center section, and then we'll basically glue it in place. So adding a little bit of glue here very quickly, and smush it around with your finger, and then I go ahead and I add it, and I again line things up. The spars are relatively straight and lined. I got the tab over the edge. That looks good. Push down, make sure everything is gluing, which it did just fine. It's wonderful. So, I'm still a little nervous, but I'm still forging ahead. because I figure everything's working. And now this is a part where there's a joint there at the leading edge where you get into trouble, but this one didn't. It folded right over nicely. You can barely tell there's a seam. There's no puckering. There's no, little pieces that jut out forward of the other leading edge, so that you've got the center section leading edge, but now you got wing panel leading edges, but they line up and it's straight. It lines up. There's no bump there. It's just wonderful. But all of a sudden I notice right here that I got some color underneath that shouldn't be showing. So I'm wondering what's going on, but I figured, okay, keep on rolling. So I add my glue along the ribs and the trailing edges and where it's going to have to come together. And I go ahead and put that on. And again, I fold it over. It folds perfectly. There's no puckering. There's no wavy edges. Looks great. But I am getting some of the lower color coming up. And I'm thinking that's probably a little weird. And then I look and I see that trailing edge. And I'm starting to realize, look at where the aileron is way over, up there my finger's moving. And then the trailing edge down there has got that huge overlap. That's 1/8 of an inch, maybe more. So at this point, I'm kind of going, At the same time, as I'm looking at this, you can see that the wing itself is kind of drooped. And partially that's because it might not be quite dry, but it does kind of worry me because it shouldn't look like that. Now, those aren't even matched up, notice. The little riblets aren't matched up together. And then there's this part, and you can see it drooping. So now I'm starting to think we be in trouble, and I don't know what to do with that. Ultimately, I'm probably going to have to cut it off, and so I decide to go ahead and bite the bullet and cut it off. Now my cord is less, but I just don't understand how the center section the window was perfect, but yet there was overlap. And look at that huge overlap on the aileron. And now I'm nervous because how is the aileron even going to fit in there? Kind of ruining the fact that I opened up the ailerons, made them separate. We'll see what I can do.